All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What is up, everybody? Big Marley 3 from SHIPIT Nation here to break down the Week 13 NFL Tiers Slate for you guys. I can't believe we're already in Week 13. The season has been flying by, but it has been a great one for me and the staff and members over at SHIPITNation.com. If you haven't signed up yet, then I don't know what you're waiting for. You get content and projections for all sports, and we have been seeing big wins in the Discord every night. It is the best Discord in the industry. So go sign up and get in there and join in on these big wins. You get all sports for one low price, and we have member giveaways every week. All right, time to jump into this tier slate. I always start by looking at tier 1 and tier 5. Those are our quarterback tiers, and then I look around to see what stack options they have. I will use all the quarterbacks from tier 1, and then I'll narrow down my player pool and all the other tiers, including tier 5. Our top projected play in tier 1 this week is Jalen Hurts. And this Eagles 49ers game has the second highest total of the day. Hurts is coming off his biggest game of the season, but he did rush for 65 yards and 2 touchdowns to get there. It was his second straight game in a row with 2 rushing touchdowns, and he now has 11 on the season. Even though he can get there with his legs, I still want him stacked with at least one of A.J. Brown in tier 2. Or Devontae Smith in tier 4. I usually do prefer AJ, but he's usually the more popular one as well. And Smith is coming off his best game of the season last week as well. He started the year slow, but he is averaging almost 20 DraftKings points per game the last 4 games. The next highest projected is Tua, and he has the best matchup a quarterback could ask for. The Dolphins also have the highest team total of the week, just under 30 points. I will lock in one of Tyreek Hill in tier 2 or Jalen Waddle in tier 3 with all of my Tua lineups. Hill might be my favorite play of the week this week, but he will be chalky. And if you want to get a little bit more contrarian, you can go with Waddle. I'm fine with either or both of them, but I'd only want one of them if 2 was not in my lineup in tier 1. And then the third highest projected is CJ Stroud. And he has been playing lights out the last 4 games, averaging 366.5 passing yards and 31.25 DraftKings points in that stretch. If I'm using him, then I'm locking in one or both of Tank Dell in tier 3 or Nico Collins in tier 6. They also have Devin Singletary over here in tier 8. And if you want to get contrarian, you can go ahead and use him. He did see 7 targets last week. And he has the nut matchup for running backs. I don't know if I'm going to get there or not, but if I'm using chalk in all the other tiers, then maybe I'll have to do something like that. And then probably my least favorite option in tier 1 is Justin Herbert. But if I am using him, then I'm going to lock in Keenan Allen in tier 2. And that should be a pretty low-owned stack this week with Herbert being low-owned in tier 1. Keenan has 35 catches on 46 targets in the last 3 weeks, and he hit the 100-yard bonus in all of those games. I'm also fine tossing Austin Eckler into those stacks as well, but if I'm using Herbert, then I'm definitely using Keenan. And then over in tier 5 sucks this week. Thanks a lot, DraftKings. We have 6 quarterbacks in this tier, but half of them have 0 pass catchers available to stack with. Sam Howell is somebody I like this week on the main slate, but he has no wide receivers over here on tiers. So I think I'm just going to end up Xing him out of tiers this week and just getting my exposure over on the main slate instead. Kyler Murray is another one who doesn't have any stack options, but he's someone who can get there with his legs. He does have a rushing touchdown in all 3 of his games this year. I might keep him in the pool for that reason, but I do prefer stacking, so maybe he ends up getting X'd out. And then Russell Wilson is the other quarterback who has no pass catchers in tiers either. So I'm just going to X him out of my player pool as well. Brock Purdy is my favorite play in tier 5 this week, and he has all of his guys available to stack with. I probably want him stacked with at least 2 guys, but I'd be fine with any 2 of his 4. So there's ways that we can mix around those combinations. He has Christian McCaffrey in tier 2, who's always a great play, especially with no salaries. Then we have Brandon Ayuk in tier 4, who does his best work against man defense, which he will be seeing this week. They also have Debo Samuel in tier 7, and then George Kittle in tier 8. I always like to be able to use these bottom tiers for stack pieces, so I probably get to a good amount of Debo and Kittle with some Purdy there as well. Purdy will be my top guy, but there's lots of ways to build those lineups. So we can stack up both sides of the ball as well with Purdy in tier 5 and Hurts in tier 1. I always like to do that and just hope that the game shoots out. And then my next favorite in tier 5 is Jared Goff. But he only has 1 pass catcher, and that's going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown in tier 2. And this tier 2 is going to be a tough tier to win this week. I do expect St. Brown to be low owned compared to these other guys, though. And then he also has both of his running backs over here in tier 7. I do like Jahmyr Gibbs as another stack piece to go along with Goff, and he has seen 19 targets in the last 3 games. Or in that same tier, we could even go with Chris Olave as a run back piece if he ends up playing, and he should get a huge target share this week with all the other wide receivers out. And then the last one is Matthew Stafford. He is coming off his best game of the season where he threw for 4 touchdowns last week. He has Cooper Kupp in tier 4, which is low for him. He also has Kyler Williams in that same tier, and he broke the main slate last week, scoring 41 DraftKings points. And then he also has Puka Nacua over here in tier 6. If I'm using Stafford, I want him stacked with at least one of those guys, preferably the wide receivers. And then once I get all my stacks figured out, most of my lineup is already built for me. And then I can just plug my favorite plays around that. If you want to know how I am attacking each tier, I have all my plays and notes posted over at SHIPITNation.com. All my NFL and MMA DFS content can be found there every week. I will be back with an afternoon and a primetime slate breakdown, but if you guys can hit that like and subscribe button for us, it really helps out. Good luck in tiers this week. I hope to see some Ship It logos up top. Thanks for listening. Go ship something.